Welcome to Gray Areas, episode 634, August 6th, 2024. Sean, I just closed that door. I closed that door so we would not have this situation, and here we are nonetheless.
He opened it just to close it.
Yeah.
I know he did. I know. I realized too late. Hello.
I was born only to suffer, but here we are. We are live.
Replaced Dave with Maisie.
Yay!
Who you might actually hate more.
Yeah.
Honestly, when we think about it critically.
Chris actually said, tough shit, Maisie can't make you your protein shake tonight.
That's true. Although, Dave texted that he didn't know if Deadpool and Wolverine was considered Deadpool 3. So I can't imagine being so out of touch. I feel like I wonder if my dad, when I can't name like all the senators, if that's how he feels about me. You know?
Probably.
I didn't comment on that because I'm like, Dave, do you think there's 2 Deadpool movies at once that are out that we've actually somehow talked about? Like, did he think that an entire movie was released?
Yeah.
Without him knowing.
They did Deadpool and Wolverine, and in the end credits, they announced Deadpool 3.
And then they showed it immediately right then.
Another 3-hour movie.
I swear.
What a surprise. And we all enjoyed it thoroughly. But yes, Dave is not here. Maisie is, and it's not even Sean's fault. It's mine. So please direct your hatred to me in the comments.
Yep.
Or praise, but either way.
It'll be hatred.
Sean will direct his hatred after the show.
We have a series of topics to talk about, and Maisie's experience with Deadpool and at least a couple of the other ones that are on Sean's list. I don't even know everything on Sean's list, so I suppose I have to turn it over to him and just pray that the ride isn't too uncomfortable.
My list is a little less manic this time. It's a little more straightforward. It actually sort of makes some cohesive sense.
Okay.
I want to start. Let's talk about Deadpool. We all saw it. This is rare. Cody went after trivia, which we won, by the way. We got first place. Just going to throw it out there. Spur of the moment. Saw it on Wednesday night last week. So at the time, he texted me and said he liked it. And then a couple days ago, he texted me and was just shitting on it. So I think this is going to be an interesting review.
No, I was just shitting on the things I had further thought about that I shit on after the movie. And so it's like I was like here with like the good and the bad, and I've like enjoyed the good more and hated the bad more.
Okay.
I've just become more divisive inside myself.
So let's start with the review. So we saw it. I would say, what did we like? And I can go. I thought that it was funny. I thought it was a good ride. I liked. Well, no, that's going to immediately get into the things I didn't like.
That's a great review.
Right.
The first thing I think of that I liked will tell me what else I didn't like.
No, it was funny. And it was a good ride. And I think that that's all the different characters showing up, all the guest appearances. It all just made for like a very fun experience. Was it like this incredible masterpiece of a movie? No. Do I feel like I ever need to see it again? Probably not. But I enjoyed the ride and what it was, what it was there for.
That's gonna be like my number one takeaway is I don't think I'll ever watch the movie again. I don't know. Like I rewatch a handful of Marvel movies for like their rewatchability and stuff like that. And I actually I rewatched Deadpool 2 because I actually liked that one quite a bit. I'm also a sucker because Cable's in it, and I think that character inherently. I mean, as we got into X-Men 97, we got the same thing, but. That's what I just took. I walked away from it. The more I thought, I'm like, I'm probably never going to watch it again. That's why I joked to Dave. I'm like, you could wait for about 9 3-minute clips to pop up online, and you might get what you need out of the movie.
Yeah. Well, so Maisie, so I have a question for Maisie and Chris. Chris has not seen the other Deadpools, and then Maisie, who has forgotten that she's seen the other two
Pretty
Deadpools.
much haven't seen that.
So let's start with Maisie. What were your thoughts? You laughed a lot.
I did. I thought it was very funny. But I am a 12-year-old boy. I love sex jokes and violence, and I was dying during the intro. And this is pretty stupid. I literally leaned over to Sean. I was like, he's doing the actual dance, and Sean's like, yeah, you fucking.
It's not him.
No, I didn't say
it's
that.
A different actor, and it wasn't Ryan Reynolds doing the dance.
Was it really?
I want to get that out there right now.
Like a professional dancer.
Damn right it was.
Really sad.
Yeah, I want because Raya argued with me on this, and I was like, "That's not him." She's like, "It could be. He could have learned it." I'm like, "It's not fucking him. It's absolutely not him."
Why
and I just saw
wouldn't it be
that it was
him?
like there's like a guy who named Dancepool that I think is the actor that. So I just wanted to get that out there now. that he didn't do that.
It's a fitting name.
I loved it.
It was funny, just he didn't do it.
Weirdly
I'm
enough, the
taking Ryan
opening,
Reynolds down a peg. That's all I'm doing here.
That is fair.
weirdly enough, the opening was one of my least favorite parts of the movie. Not that I didn't like it or anything. I was kind of like, And I mean, it is Deadpool's responsibility to make things drag on too long, to fuck around with the fourth wall at every opportunity, to play things completely the opposite of straight at all times. So it wasn't like it wasn't fitting, or I was like, oh, this is not what I want. They were going to have to address how they were going to get Logan back into this movie, and to just be upfront with the fact that it's like, yeah, no, we're going to be as disrespectful as possible, and then do that. I didn't really hate it or anything, but I remember being at the end of it being like, all right, well, I'm glad that's done now. What's next? Like, let's get to what's next. It was fine. It was fine. The choreography is great. It's fine, but I was much more enthralled by everything that happened afterwards than the first 5 minutes.
I did like it. I think stylistically it was good. It was funny. I was about to say Doug. It also didn't hit Doug right. I thought it was one of the, not to get too technical, but it was one of the rare examples of the movie that actually had some sort of like style or like any sort of direction that was not just generic. A lot of the shots that you get for the rest of the movie, they sort of are by the numbers at best. I think Sean Levy is fine, but I don't think he's like a super good director. So I liked the intro. I love that it was like, how are they going to do Logan? How are they going to be respectful to the legacy? And they're like, we're not. We have no intention of being respectful. We're actually going to just desecrate it completely, just so you know where we sit. And I thought that was brilliant and much better than had they tried to do anything of like a homage. But then you follow Deadpool. I guess I was a little bit bummed that like, because there's a third movie, his life has to be shit again. Like if there was only 2 Deadpool movies, that he got to go back in time, save everybody he loved, and now they can live happily ever after. But because there's a third movie, he's divorced. Broken up, has barely any friends, and you're like, yeah, well, you have to do that because now you have to show the growth of the character and everything. But it was funny and it was still good stuff. Oh God, this is such a long comment.
Jason hits a wall of text and it's got pros and cons in it. It breaks the whole structure. We're not doing cons yet. I do want to take this opportunity to talk about what I thought was a con for some people, but I didn't understand because I thought it wasn't related at all. Maybe it's because people are just dumb, but it was like, the people that thought this ruined Logan for them, I do not understand for the life of me, because it isn't even the same fucking Wolverine. So what are we even talking about? Because of X-23?
I guess you could say, yeah, X-23, we like that she just escaped to Canada. Now you're saying the same X-23, eventually had her life go to hell.
Well, it was out there, and that wasn't just getting one guide by Twitter. Like, there was a small consensus among a few people that was like, oh, well, like, it's ruined this movie for me and this movie, but primarily Logan, which, again, people really liked. Some people would say that's the best X-Men movie that's been made.
That would be one of them.
I would probably have Days of Future Past ahead of it, but they're both up there. They're really good. The point is, though, it's like, I know that's, like, sacrosanct, and we can't touch it, but the movie didn't really. And, again, that whole opening scene is kind of meant to talk about how, like, that's not that. I felt like you can make a case that it ruined it for you, and if you feel that way, that's fine. But I felt like the whole approach, if they didn't make it obvious to you by the end when they do the whole Fox thing, it was a meta approach of all these characters dying at their studio. So X-23 came up because she's at this now defunct studio rather than in Logan, if that makes sense at all. Elektra and Blade and all these characters, it was kind of like a love letter to them. And the movie's so meta, I thought that the line was pretty well drawn, but I guess some people just have to take it super literally. Those are probably the people that don't love the meta humor in Deadpool either, I would guess. Yeah, because it's almost too on the nose for them, and they're too stupid to come along for the ride. Because, I mean, Doug mentions that people really think X-23 wasn't going to draw attention to her. So, like, it's also, we didn't even mention Gambit, who is not really like from a defunct thing. It was more so that the Gambit movie never got off the ground. But still the same idea. It's like, it's a chance to celebrate some other characters that are off the wall, and yet they all get their moments to shine, and it's fun. And does it mean anything for the MCU going forward? Probably not, but maybe it could. You never know. I mean, they're going to have to stick the landing on about 5 different time travel / multiverse concepts here as they wrap up this second arc. So anything's possible. People could come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I saw a thing that said Logan was the anchor. They've already established it, right? That Logan was the anchor for that universe. Now, if he's dead, then because he never was supposed to sacrifice himself for this X-23, because he did, that's what caused this whole excursion of the death of the universe. To me, that sounds like a bunch of gibberish. You wanted X-23 in the movie because it's fun. You found a way to do it. That's all I kind of need.
Mm-hmm.
The same with No Way Home. Do I need all the fucking logistics? Not really. If I get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield all in the same movie, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's blinking rapidly, so I don't know if he. Sorry, Miz, we were gonna say.
I'm just waiting to shit on it when you guys are done.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm happy that they did the 3-way pointing in the Spider-Man.
Right.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
You're getting the barometer for Maisie's humor. Is it super advanced?
Really shitty
No.
memes. I spend 80% of my day on Reddit, even though County IT has banned it.
Well, I mean, it's
throw that out there, right?
publicly. As much as you're saying that tongue in cheek, at least she can enjoy the movie, because
Yeah.
I felt like some people went into this bound and determined not to, which was odd. Because again, maybe Deadpool style humor isn't for you. I can understand that. It is extremely meta. It requires a lot of knowledge of other properties, both in Fox and in Marvel, to understand some of the jokes. I get not loving the humor, but for the people who are obstinate about not enjoying it, that's the one where I'm confused. I'm just I don't, you're like, I don't know how Johnny Storm got here. Where's the rest of the Fantastic Four? Why didn't they end up in the void and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't fucking know or care. It's a funny cameo from Chris Evans. That's all that matters.
Well, and I also think it's funny, why wasn't Nick Cage there? Because he didn't want to be. So, there's some element of, could they get the actors or not? And they could get some and not others. I think people forget sometimes that it's a production and there's money. It came up in the House of Dragon season 2. They're like, where's all the huge dragon battles? It's well, yeah, that would be cool. I would like that too, but there is a thing called the budget.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was an enjoyable ride. So many Marvel movies these days, and there's been some in the past, the ones that aren't very good. You go and you're man, you're checking your watch. When is it gonna be over? I'm kind of bored. Some of them I'm starting to get sleepy. I didn't feel that way in this one, and I feel could it have been better? I definitely think so, and we'll get to that. But I thought what they did, they really did pretty well, and it's fun. I had a fun time.
You want me to start now?
I guess we are transitioning to the con.
I guess if you have no pros, which runs counter to the text you sent
you already covered
afterwards,
a handful. I mean, I'll include it as I go through. But that was the one thing that I thought was most interesting that Chris touched on already, is that for the all purpose of having Happy talk to Deadpool's character, this movie's not connected to the MCU at all. The whole vibe of Deadpool is going into the MCU. No, he's not. What fucking character did he interact with in any way, in any meaningful that leads him in to be part of? No, he's still kept completely separate, which is great. If you're gonna keep making these movies and want to keep going forward with it, however long it takes to make another one, which can't fathom they're gonna not do that if they can convince Hugh Jackman.
Highest grossing R movie.
Yeah,
ever,
they can convince Hugh Jackman to do it, which is great. I honestly again, for as much as I don't love the movie, I still think it's a 6.5 out of 10. We're gonna get to grades later, I'm sure.
Well,
it's fine. It's fine. I don't think it's that good of a movie. I'm sorry. It's one of the first movies we've actually reviewed where I'm gonna be it's not that great. And the TVA is, but the TVA is also just a crock of shit that we've created and fucked up with and screwed around with. Where I'm I don't even consider it in any consistent way a part of the fucking MCU in itself. It's also not part of the movie universe. It's part of the fucking TV show universe.
Well, it was interesting that they brought up the TVA, but then they're like, "Oh, this is a rogue part of the TVA."
Exactly.
So
you
connected to Loki,
you
but
still
also
immediately you're yeah, but it's a name, but we're gonna immediately remove it. Also, cool when you get zapped with the stick thing, you go to this place. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
That did happen.
Yeah, I was
I was gonna say.
Before you go full
I'm saying that's the one consistent thing.
This is beef
that's
right now.
the one consistent thing. What I find really funny, and this is gonna get really nerdy depth into Marvel. All right, so we've been over the whole vibranium versus adamantium, blah 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 thing. Cool. So Captain America should have chopped everyone's fucking head off with his shield every time he's thrown at anybody. If the fingers can stab right through people, I'm just gonna point that out right away. It's just fascinating, by the way, that the claws and everything that are all vibranium. It should be
Oh.
fucking slaughtering everyone. So now I
You're
desperately want an
right.
R Captain America movie where he's just fucking killing everyone.
Yeah, but it's claws versus the edge of the blunted edge of a shield.
It's not blunt.
It's not
Dude,
fucking blunt.
it
It's the
looks
edge
sharp
of a
as
fucking
fuck.
shield, and
It
the metal's
is.
fucking strong. So I'm just going to point out that it
He
should be
has a
fucking
point.
cutting people at the very least. It shouldn't be bonking off their heads, and then they get back up. They're fucking dead.
To be fair, I'm sure there's a lot of examples of this, but in the Falcon TV show, it goes into a tree.
Yeah, I
Most-
know.
Most people aren't stronger than a
Yeah.
tree.
I'm aware.
That's-
Anyway.
okay, that's fair.
It's not even a criticism. I just thought it was funny because I'm sitting there being like, man, if Chris Evans was walking around with this shield just beheading every fucking Nazi, I'd be cheering the whole fucking movie.
That would be great.
Last
Big
thing before we go
reboot.
full cons, then I have one more pro, and I think the action's good. Now you could put this within a certain con of like, if Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting, and two of the main 3 fight scenes in the movie are the two of them fighting, does it really matter because neither of them's going to kill each other? They're all just going to heal from it, but it's still fun because it's very physical in a way we have not really seen in the Marvel universe that much.
Yeah.
And like, just because the two of them have such great chemistry, both in their acting and like the scenes where they're fighting, I enjoy those 2 scenes. And obviously we have the one from the side as they go across and they're fighting all the Deadpool core. Like, I liked all 3 of those action scenes a good amount. Like, again, you can argue what's the stakes, but again, I think you're attaching yourself too much to being serious about a thing that's not meant to be taken seriously at all.
I just think that there are like, yes, I saw that criticism. What are the stakes? And on like negative reviews, and I was like, these people are fucking, in my opinion, fucking stupid. Because like you said, they're fighting, but like they both kind of know that they regen, and it's just about inflicting pain.
Yeah.
And if I get in a fist fight with Cody, the stakes are not, oh my God, are they going to kill each other? No, it's just, we're going to rough each other up and then it's over, right? So that's this, but they're both indestructible, so it gets heightened a little bit.
I equated that to in Family Guy when Peter fights the chicken. It's the
Yeah.
same fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's going to go on way too long, and it's going to be like, is this funny? And then you're going to be like, this is kind of not funny. And then it's going to come back around in the 5-minute fight scene of like, yeah, this is actually still pretty fucking funny when you think about it.
Right.
And that's what I felt. I'm like,
And
okay,
then-
this is going on a bit, but
At the end, yeah, they're fighting all the Deadpools, and it's like, yeah, they're all going to regenerate. But if they get overwhelmed, it was like 2 against like 100.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it to Cassandra. And so like that still mattered. And just to bring it back, I did not hear this fucking criticism in the last fight scene of Deadpool 1, where he is indestructible and they're trying to make all this tension, and you're like, so really this fight's not even close because the guy's not even hitting Deadpool. Even if he lands one single hit, he's just going to regenerate. So like he's not even in the same ballpark. No one brought that up. So fuck all these people.
if anything with all the Deadpools, they actually teased it to where it might matter because Pretty Boy one died.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, actually, you did tease as though I don't know if they're all going to regen or not. Maybe he's the only variant. And then they all got up and I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's funny. Like, I actually thought that was also one of the funnier bits in the movie because they tried to fuck with you a little bit to tease like, no,
Yeah.
they're actually fucking killing all of them. And I'm like, well, I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
And
And then they solved the problem. 'cause-
I saw a complaint that said they ran the educational wish joke 3 times. And I thought that was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. And like the 3 is kind of the point of that joke. So there's just like really a lot of really bad takes with
See,
with
I
this
agree with
film
that,
I
though.
saw.
Yeah.
This movie is like 8 different SNL skits that have no fucking ending, and they just drag on over and over and over again. And the ending, the punchline of the joke is doing the joke 2 more times. Which is, again, I don't think it's like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, this movie is terrible and no one should like it. Like, it's just not for me. Like, I don't find a lot of humor in running it back and then running it back again. And then
Well,
let's go one more time.
Let me make it was a movie. It's the most outright comedy in the MCU. And yet it is, I don't think, maybe even the second funniest movie in the MCU. In my opinion. So
You're saying it's stylized to be a comedy, but it's not the funniest
Right.
movie.
It's trying to be the
Yes.
funniest, and
Yes.
it's not funnier
It
than Thor
tries
Ragnarok.
very hard.
right. And I'm sure you can even say like Iron Man maybe in parts was funnier because the jokes really land when they are making jokes. So many of the jokes here, yeah, there was a lot of funny parts. There was also a lot of parts that I didn't find super funny.
And you might have landed on my biggest criticism that tonally this movie has no fucking idea what it's doing.
Oh, it's like Whiplash, almost like intentionally.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, Deadpool's going to be super jokey, and he's going to be super serious, and we're going to go for heavy drama in this scene, but we got to couch it in jokes because it can't be too dramatic for too long. And they're like, okay, but now we're just going like, whoa.
So in my opinion, this is what the second one did really well, and again, I think it's the one that is the least meta.
Yes.
And they just really nail, kind of like Ragnarok, like the seriousness versus the humor innate to Deadpool. And I think they had a really good heartbeat in that movie.
Yeah.
Cable was super serious, so he's great to bounce off of. And that all kind of maybe brings me to my biggest critique, which was Deadpool I thought was great in this movie. The Wolverine, I felt like I didn't get a ton of character out of him, really.
They don't let him do anything.
He doesn't, and Jackman does a great job, but like, other than just being really gruff, he gets a little bit of like, oh, I should have been there for the X-Men and I wasn't, but he's just not in it enough.
You tease some really Logan-esque things when he goes back and he's talking about them all dying when he's sitting with Daphne Keene talking to her. And I was like, oh, fuck, we're actually going to get like a really concrete, like, dive back into him playing the character in Logan. And then we just cut that scene really short. And I'm like, fuck, man, I really grew to like Hugh Jackman in this role when he got to do Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
When he got to do Logan. Like, when they gave him some of the more serious shit to do, he's fucking excellent as this character. And right as we started to kind of go up the hill, like we're going to let him do it a little bit, we're like, no, joke, like, never mind. That's too serious. Which, again, is where the tonal thing is like, again, you're right, in Deadpool 2, it's like, we grounded as like, every character's like, Deadpool, do you not fucking understand how serious this needs to actually be right now? And he kind of has to have that realization in that movie. And in this one, it's like, you never really force him to do that. You kind of tease like Logan's going to do it, and then every time you get there, you pull back. And you're like, no, that's too heavy for this movie. And I'm like, Logan died, and he's now... And then all the X-Men are dead. So this universe has X-Men but no Logan. This universe has Logan but no X-Men. It's kind of fucking serious in a realm, again, in the MCU where we haven't actually introduced the X-Men at all. And I just thought that was weirdly glossed over in a way where we could have taken like 3 more minutes in some of that.
So as a movie dedicated to the death of Fox, I thought this movie really worked pretty well. As a character-driven movie,
yes,
I thought it fell a little bit short.
I would agree. I mean, I 100% agree with that, which again, I think is why I'm extra harsh on it, because I also, and this is probably an unfair critique, this movie came out way too late. Like, we should have done this movie like 2 or 3 years ago. The fact that we took this long in 2024 to get to this point, I'm like, fuck, man, a lot of this stuff has already been like kind of drawn out and explained in this, and like, we're just so far away from some of that to where I'm like, and I thought we would get a hint of what was actually going forward in this movie. Again, at the end of the movie, we've established nothing.
No, they played it safe. They definitely played it safe. Which maybe was the right call, because
they fuck everything up after they do it anyway. You're right.
But is this humorous to you that Marvel Jesus overtook Passion of the Christ as the highest grossing rated R movie?
That's pretty funny.
I think it's pretty funny. I don't know how religious people think about it, but I think
Did you ask your dad?
it's pretty funny. No, where to even start with that conversation?
He would not enjoy that movie.
I don't think he'd enjoy either of the movies, to be fair.
He didn't see Passion of the Christ?
I don't think so. I don't know if it'd be for him. It's just like kind of super violent.
Oh,
kind
I don't
of
know what
movie.
it's about other than Christ, I guess.
It's about Christ's passion.
And it's Mel Gibson. And anyways, yeah. So I guess let's do scores. Or is there more that you want to talk about, Cody, with Deadpool?
I'll just point out, like, I think that this movie, as I said to Sean and everyone in a text message, this movie feels like its humor is straight out of like 2010. And it's like, that one guy, he might be gay because he's attracted to muscly Wolverine. I'm like, why are we doing this now? Why are we still doing this shit? And I just think it's obnoxious. When he gets fitted into his suit, the guy slaps his ass once or twice. That's funny. It's like 13 times, and then he calls him like, oh yeah, he might be a sexual predator. Funny. That's so fucking great. I think it's so great. If Deadpool was a woman, we'd be really pissed about him groping her, but it's a guy, so it's funny. I don't get why it's still okay to be funny, that it's like a guy on guy thing and we make jokes about it. It's weird to me.
Does it make it any better that one of the hands was Mickey Mouse's hand? They snuck it in there.
Yeah, sure. So funny. Like, I can't get past that. I don't think that shit's funny.
Yeah.
And this movie stepped it up to like a fucking 18 from like a 9 of where it used to be. Like, again, it's like every other thing out of Ryan Reynolds' fucking mouth is something sex related. And it's like, oh, cool, it was funny a little bit. And now it's just like, he's going to do it enough to see how pissed off everyone can get. If we do a fourth movie, he'll probably go even further. And I don't find it funny.
Well, here's my hope.
I don't find that let's hit the bones in the dick and ass over and over again. And the first thing, it's not fucking funny. It's fucking lame.
My hope, because they didn't do this in Deadpool 2 very much, to my knowledge, it's not the stuff that stuck out with me. I don't even say I suspect. I hope that they're like, we're with Disney now, and there's going to be a lot of concerns that,
sure.
And there are. I mean, they were right that there were concerns. That's all you heard about is Disney's going to neuter the R rating, and I think they set out to be like, nope, we're going to push everything, all the sex, all the violence, and they probably didn't need to because it came at the cost of some of the jokes and some of the narrative.
And I think everyone who thought that is bluntly a fucking idiot.
Well,
because
right. Yeah,
Disney owns a lot of shit that is not all childlike anymore. I think we've moved pretty far past that. Like, Disney's, by the way, owns FX. So every FX TV show you watch is a Disney show. Did Disney neuter all that shit? Everyone's just fucking stupid about, like, IP and who owns what. And so, like, the fact that that was a concern, and then the fact that on the movie side, they're like, well, we need to go excessive and overboard. I'm like, it's just fucking so much. And that's when I got taken out of the movie multiple times where I'm like, all right, this is bits going on for 2 or 3 minutes. Like, we're just going to keep going. And I'm like, at certain points, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck about this movie anymore. Well, and I have to wait for the scene to roll over to get back into it.
Keep in mind that among all the bad takes we've already mentioned was one other one I saw like the day after the movie released, which was like, it's so refreshing to finally have another superhero movie that wasn't woke again. Now, obviously, we've talked about the woke nonsense on this show plenty of times before, but I'm like, really? You walked out of that thinking that was not woke?
Really?
Like, you're like heavily pan/demisexual main character.
Yeah.
And like all these like jokes that were very on the nose and all that, and you think that's like, yep, that's red-blooded America right there. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to tell you, sir, but good luck.
It was definitely a sir, that's for sure.
I can see how the movie's insanely polarizing. People who love Deadpool are going to argue with everything I said is like, no, you just don't fucking get it, or you just don't like the humor. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I know. I really liked Wolverine, so I wanted to watch this movie. My fiance really likes the movie, likes Deadpool, so I was like, I'll go with you and watch it. That's why I went to go see it.
It is telling, by the way. You mentioned how far Disney's come, because remember, like, there was the huge controversy with The Lion King about, like, you know, he plops down and the leaves spell sex in like one frame. And oh my God, the children might see that one frame and be exposed to sex. Well, that was 1994. It's now 30 years later. It's a very different landscape, and Disney is no longer anything close to what it was back then. So, like, I'm with you. I mean, was there some concern that they might neuter Deadpool? No. Could it have been toned back a little bit? I guess, but it's like, if you're going to tackle this and you're going to keep an R rating, I don't know why people were worried anymore.
Yeah. Right. So I think, Cody, but this kind of, you know what? We have to do our scores really quick, though. We have to do our scores. Cody
spoiled his. Mine's a 7.
Maisie, I'm going to go more like,
I'm a sheep, so
I'm thinking more like an 8 because it is a great note. But like, I remember thinking this is one of the better movies of this phase, certainly of maybe the last 2 phases. It's one of the better ones. It was fun. I laughed a lot. There were moments where I did care, although we highlighted like could have been a lot better, could have been punched up. But I thought they pretty much succeeded at what they were trying to do. And I think we noted what they did wrong, but like I feel like it had the potential to be so much worse. They were juggling a lot with this movie, and I thought for the most part they really did nail a lot of the different parts. So I'm gonna go 8.
Maybe.
Conservative 8.
So I am bad at rating movies. I
10.
also
She's gonna give it a 10.
No, that's what I would usually do. But I also like, I don't remember anything. So that like the fact that I watched this movie and like was like, oh my God, I watched Logan. I know what's happening right now. And then the fact that I watched Loki and the fact that like I knew about the TVA. So I was like, oh fuck, I understand this movie so much more. So but I'm also gonna forget about it next year. Like Sean was saying, I fucking don't. I literally have to ask him if I've seen movies, and I convince myself I still haven't seen them. So, but I really enjoyed it because I thought it was very funny, even though all of the jokes were beaten to death. So I will. I'll join Sean and say an 8.
You can give it same 8. You can't give it
Yes, you
same.
can.
score.
Why not?
She said she was a sheep when she started
Give
doing
it-
it.
I'm a shape.
If you enjoyed it more, you have to go like 8.5 or something.
I think you enjoyed it more than I did, so you got to go at least 8.5.
Okay,
8.5, great.
8.5.
I like it.
As a part of my quick time of having already spoiled my score, I will just really run through quickly. I want more X-23. I wish she would be in more. I actually want to see her in that role and be in it, hopefully in some way going forward. Someone already commented on there. We should do Gambit in an R-rated movie.
Yes.
And like not taking it overly seriously like Deadpool. I will actually enjoy it a shit ton more than I think I even do Deadpool's character. It'd be really, really funny for changing him to actually get to do that movie that he's wanted to do.
No.
That'd be
As
so
goofy
cool.
as he was, and that's where some of the jokes were funny, especially because, again, we watched X-Men 97. Deadpool's interactions with him of his gibberish accent was
Yep.
actually really, really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
You know what?
Channing Tatum was actually doing a really fucking good job.
Big year for Gambit because he's also one of the most prominent people in X-Men
Yeah.
97. And, he's what, the 8th most popular X-Men?
Yeah.
11th? Like, you'd have to go pretty far down the list before you hit Gambit.
Cody, what was the joke of Blade where I forgot what he misheard, but he was like retarded.
Yeah, the
No, no,
retired. That was, yeah. There's a whole, I mean, you could spend hours, by the way, on the internet diving down into the, that character and Ryan Reynolds, given that Ryan Reynolds
Yeah,
is, by the way, in the third movie, and there was a lot of drama related to that, which was funny that he got put in there.
But I bring that up to say, like, I think I agree with you that the second half was a lot stronger.
Yes,
The writing
it-
seemed
it
a lot smarter.
really was.
The set pieces, all of it. Yeah.
I'm bummed that Marvel did its thing where we go ahead and introduce a cool villain and then just like, yeah, and you're dead now. Because
Yeah.
I actually would love to see more of Cassandra's character in that. I thought the actress did a pretty solid job. Matthew McFadden was really bad as the TVA guy, just horrible. And I know he's a good actor, so I don't know what was going on there, but he was just awkward and felt so out of place tonally to the entire movie.
I'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'll try to say he didn't have a lot to work with as far as the script
He was
went.
cashing a check. I mean, 100%. He showed up. He saw
Yeah.
a role. They did nothing to develop that character in any way or really explain his motivations, and was like, let's get a guy who's an evil. Again, Deadpool even carries like, there's another evil British person in this movie. Like, it's funny. It's a throwaway joke, but he was just kind of there, and it didn't seem like he was super necessary.
Mhm.
And I think that's all of the. Oh, and then good for Chris Evans to
Yeah.
get to go back and do that. That was pretty funny. It's really funny. We did the bit where they think he's Captain America and forget that in this universe, Captain America and Johnny Storm look the same.
Mhm.
Really a funny bit given the fact that we're about to have Tony Stark and Doctor Doom look identical as well. So
Yeah.
I really appreciated that bit where he thought he was going to say Avengers Assemble. That again was pretty funny, smart writing to have him revealed as being Storm and not Captain America, even if I think every one of us knew that's who it was going to be.
Maisie didn't know.
I did not. Sean had to.
I mean, to be fair, those movies came out when you were 7 years old.
I
so
saw them. I had a calendar, and Jessica Alba was the centerpiece.
Uh-huh.
uh-huh.
She was so
She sure was.
fucking hot. Was that the right actress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
thank
correct.
God.
You're right. Like,
I thought
Yeah.
he was laughing because I said some not.
At the
Nope.
time, she got crossed up a lot with Jessica Biel, and boy, are those two very different people.
Oh, at least I didn't do that. But
Anyways,
yeah,
that caps off my score thing. If there is a bunch of 3-minute bits that I find really funny or really good scattered in that movie.
are you sticking with your 6.5?
Yeah,
Or do you
100%.
want to revise it a
No,
little
because
bit?
Chris did 7, so I
You
actually
wanna
feel even
do an
better about it being
8.5?
6.5.
Just kidding.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I didn't really expect it to be anything more than it was, so I just enjoyed kind of being head empty for 2 hours or thereabouts. And
Mhm.
my favorite parts were the well-punctuated fucks that we got, like just standalone lines of fuck, because we got like 3 of them from Deadpool that I liked and 1 from the TVA guy.
Mhm.
I enjoyed those. That
Yeah.
was my favorite
And
part.
that's a good
It's a
use,
good
by the way,
word.
of the R rating. Like
Yeah.
shit like that. You don't have to
Yeah.
go overboard to still be rated R and be entertained by the fact that we can have stuff like this in the movie, and we should be more willing to have a lot more of that. Like, I don't know, cursing's just so funny.
You know, there's a so the disconnect though. I just want to tighten this up, because you reminded me, Cody, with he has the claws in like the dick and the butt,
Yeah.
right? And I'm thinking, and Maisie's laughing, but I'm thinking while I'm watching that these TVA guys are. as far as I know, they're not evil. They're just like sent
just
to
doing
do
their
what
job.
they think is good.
I wasn't even gonna go to that
Right.
point.
And then, but I only do it because then he gets Johnny Storm killed. Yeah, they do a bit where he is cussing. I don't even know if I'm supposed to believe that, like, or not. You just got the guy killed, vaporized. He kills Nice Pool. And I thought in the previous Deadpool movies, they did a better job of making him a little bit morally gray while still being like you were able to root for him. And in this one, I'm like, he's just straight up getting people killed.
Because he's a fucking asshole.
But like,
This is why I said this is the same character from Ryan Reynolds in Waiting, where he's just a fucking asshole. But for some reason, he's Ryan Reynolds, so he's a charming asshole, and we cheer for him. If you want to dive into why the fuck have we cheered for Deadpool for 3 movies, I got hours to go over that with you.
And by the
he's
way,
hot.
it's akin to the same problem with the Council in Doctor Strange 2, where it's like, well, it's because it's from a different world, a different universe. It doesn't matter. It's like, no, it still matters. And if it doesn't matter, why are we doing it?
Exactly. And like Deadpool 2, when he gets his whole team killed, but he's mortified that it's happening. That to me is like the perfect balance of Deadpool maybe not having the responsibility or the foresight and still leading people to their deaths, but not straight up having a meat shield.
Well, he got Canadian Pool killed because he wanted the dog. I mean, there was a motivation there. We just didn't explain it clearly.
And you could almost argue good or bad on that one. You could say he really didn't. It seemed like he didn't know about the no regen. So at least like that one I forgive a little bit. But to your point, he wanted the dog. So
there was that's what I'm saying. Like you can try and use the he didn't know the regen thing. He still wanted to inflict pain on the nice guy.
And then he took him back out even after knowing there was no regen.
With the agents at the start, it's not just that he kills them. It's not just that he does it brutally. It's that he makes them suffer.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean while he's dancing to NSYNC the whole time? But
so
the
again,
epitome
like,
of tonal
Deadpool,
awkwardness.
So edgy, so different. You're like, I know, and obviously he's different than a lot of other heroes. So he's not just going to be like, oh, rah Superman. But like, I don't know if he has to go quite this far.
Right.
Backstreet Boys. Are you fucking kidding me, Cody?
Sorry, whatever.
Yeah, he also wanted to
Backstreet
Coldplay to Desert Eagles. That's true. People.
Whatever.
Wait,
was,
did you just say
He just said NSYNC.
whatever?
it was in sync?
It was in sync. Bye.
Hello.
I don't know. I was just like, I'm just gonna let you say that on air. And be done.
Wow.
That's right. We'll clip it for later.
Yeah, your fucking merits.
I'm just gonna let you go with that one.
You convinced America by the thread of your of your teeth. The thread of your teeth.
Yeah, you know what? Her score's back to an 8 now.
Also,
Yeah.
I really like the idea that Happy Hogan would just tell Deadpool, like, yeah, come back at the end of the movie and we'll see if you deserve to be an Avenger yet after you killed a bunch of innocent people. I would have also found that really fucking funny.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, Cody, what this brings up to me is so I did my own tier list. And I decided to do a science project because all we hear about is the MCU it's declining, it's bad, it's on its way out. They even make a joke about it in Deadpool 3. And I thought, well, we have No Way Home. We had Loki, which was great. I'm even including TV shows. Deadpool 3 was really good. So maybe this is like Much Ado About Nothing. Okay. So I did a tier list. I did, how many tiers is this? I did SS to represent the top 5. S, A, B, C, D, and F. And Deadpool 3, and wound up on the A tier. So 3 down. But top half of Marvel for sure. Okay?
Are you referring to the tier list for just this phase of movies? Or this
No,
sense?
I did
No,
the
all
whole
of it.
thing.
Like we did on the show?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's updated. And how many things were in it? Total.
A lot. Unfortunately, each one has its own, so I'd have to do the math. It's a lot now, and it's more than what we did. And I also included all the TV shows. I know we did some of them too, but I just wanted to do it for me, just to whatever get my opinion out there and update it. And so, Cody, I included the TV shows. So I have a couple notable things that I noticed. Phase 4, if you include the TV, the TV shows, so much of Phase 4 is C and lower.
That sounds about right.
So much.
I have difference of opinions for Doctor Strange Madness, whatever movie, but I think otherwise I mostly, because I like that movie better than everybody else does. But
well, I even did Strange. Let's see, Strange 2 was in C tier.
Yeah, see,
That's
I'd
right
have
in the middle.
I'd have that pretty close to this movie. I'd have that over this movie, but pretty much almost right by each other in B.
Well, yeah. So there's going to be a little bit of discrepancy. For example, I have Infinity Wars, the first one in S tier. I think a lot of people a lot of people, it's their favorite Marvel movie. That's fair. That's fine. But like, we're talking SS or S. Like, it's fucking up there. Don't come at me. The top of this list is predominantly Phase 3.
Yeah, sounds right.
Like, overwhelmingly, Ragnarok, Endgame, Civil War, Infinity War. So much of that is Phase 3. There's a little bit of like Phase 1 is up there a couple times. It is Phase 3 predominantly. And then when you get the other notable thing, so Phase 4 is on the bottom. So much that is TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much almost all of them are bad, with like the exception of
You
like
don't have
Loki.
Shang-Chi higher up than that? You have Shang-Chi as a C tier?
No, I have Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi.
Say Shang-Chi.
Top of A tier. But
Well-
for me, Shang-Chi was really good. But that's my point, is when you look at trends or whatever, it makes you think, oh, well, it's not that bad. We have Shang-Chi. We have all these other things. Other than a couple examples, like Shang-Chi being at A tier, it's so much of it's in the bottom two tiers.
I mean, I watched every single movie for the first 3 tiers, and there's like 4 movies I haven't watched now because I don't have any
And we're
interest.
getting that way on the TV shows. So the other notable thing, Phase 5, there is 7 things in the F tier. And Phase 5 is 2 of those. Phase 4 is 2 of those, and then you get some Jessica Jones season 2. I don't know if you even count that, but
Phase 5 also has 2 S's. Guardians 3 is an S.
I don't have Guardians 3 in S. I have that in A, I think.
They made Sean cry too much to put it in there.
Yeah, it was in A. So it was really good, but then it's like, I think
did
the first Guardians
cry.
was better. I have No Way Home. You have the Avengers. So what I realized in this list is, no, it's not all bad, but when you rank everything and you start to put it in an order, you realize like, oh, even though I like this movie, there's a bunch of other movies that come before it now. And that's just like the nature of, they have how many movies in now? More than 30?
Well, that's what I was asking. We ranked 27 when we did the list in 2021, and that was without any TV shows.
7, 14, 22.
It's gonna be like 37, 38 things. isn't it?
29.
Our cutoff was No Way Home.
35, 41. I did 46 different things, and I
Did
don't
you
quite get it all.
You didn't drag the first 2 Deadpools into that, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, but I did include Daredevil. Because I cared about it. But, yeah. So, Phase F tier. Ant-Man 3. That's an F. Secret Invasion. That's an F. Echo. That's an F. So, Ant-Man 2 is an F, but that's Phase 3. That was a rare misfire. What If? F. So they just don't have a lot of misfires in the first 3 phases, and I think that's...
It's called they ran out of compelling ideas to do, and all the directors they hired left and did other shit a lot of the time.
I will disagree with you. Here's what I think it is, Cody. They just started churning them out.
Yeah,
So-
there's that too.
so-
I mean, the TV shows are the epitome of
Yeah.
that.
So it's not, oh, we don't have any more good ideas. It's like, well, how would you know? You're spending 3 months or whatever it is, like, to churn out the script.
Well, I count that as not having any good ideas because you haven't taken the time to even try to do a
Sure.
good idea.
Yeah.
F.
I actually Hulk a little bit higher because other than the finale, which was bad, I enjoyed the
The
journey
rest
of that
the
one.
show was pretty. And Daredevil was in
I
it.
would love to do a podcast where we find every single like dangling fucking thread that they've left over from every one of these fucking movies and point out, so they haven't followed up on this for 4 years. They haven't followed up on this for 3 years. And don't give me this bullshit where, well, they haven't followed up on, like, no, they used to follow up on threads from
Yeah.
every other movie and the post-credit trailers or randomly chime in on it. There are so many loose hanging threads because they have a million half-baked ass ideas that I'm just like, I don't give a shit anymore.
I think you're right, but I forgive that if the movies are good. Like,
but they're
look back-
not, so that's
right.
yeah. That's
I look back at Winter Soldier, which is my favorite, and if you take away all the interconnectivity, well, you know what though, the chemistry between like Black Widow and Captain America is part of what makes that movie so good. But like my point is, it's not because, oh man, this fits into the larger universe. It just is a great film on its own. It's its own genre, sort of. It's just a fucking great movie.
But when you make a mediocre movie and throw a billion ideas out there that you never follow up on,
Yeah.
you made a shit movie
Yeah.
with half-baked ideas that you're never going to even intend to actually finish.
And the TV shows, they're the worst example of that.
Exactly.
The ballsiest
Remember
thing
White Vision? Remember when he flew away?
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
doesn't matter. He's one of the most
Exactly.
powerful beings in the universe,
It's
really.
fine.
But
He's just floating
out
up there.
what's
Super
Captain Marvel
powerful.
doing? She's out there somewhere, she's whenever they need her, she's around. One of the ballsiest things they could have ever done was if it actually ended at Endgame. And there was no way in hell that was ever happening. There was way too much money on the table and way too many people involved to make that happen. But imagine if that had been the case. Just imagine. Because it really feels like Phase 4 was like, well, shit. Everything tied up into that. We didn't really leave that many dangling threads. So we got to start from scratch. And obviously, we know that the whole Kang Dynasty disaster has uprooted some of what was planned for Phase 5, which Phase 4 led into. So that was tough because we even had a conversation on air like a year and a half ago about how it was like, well, we already had like different hints about Thanos at this point in the first set of phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Where is that here? Well, they started doing it with Kang, and then they had to fucking tear it all apart because Jonathan Majors. So that does make it interesting now that we've gone this direction that Cody alluded to earlier with Dr. Doom and with Robert Downey Jr., where it's like, okay. And if they're not going to put him in the Fantastic Four movie, then I'm like, I'm interested to see what happens. And with the Russo brothers on board, I'm a lot more interested than I would be otherwise, but I'm also like, what was all this for then?
Yeah.
What have we been spinning our wheels for with these entire last 2 phases of the MCU?
And I don't think he's got. Well, maybe I don't know. What the number that I heard was $80 million for 2 movies. Maybe they're keeping it secret, and he's going to make an appearance. But with Galactus being the villain, like, do you even want that? Do you want to try to shoehorn in Doctor Doom? And
we already did that.
Galactus and Silver Surfer, like it becomes a lot.
We
Which,
made a
by the
bad
way,
movie when we did that.
Yeah.
I know Galactus is like the Fantastic Four enemy besides Doom, but like I don't know about that either. For the record, like
Yeah, right.
Galactus is more powerful than Thanos, and depending on how they bring him into the universe and what they want to do, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's like this dude eats planets, so I don't know what we're gonna do with escalation if that's where we're going in the next movie here.
Well, and what they're probably going to do, and this is good because we want to talk about what's next anyway. It's a different universe, right? So there might be an element of Galactus wins, or at least it does enough to where they come to our universe.
Good, because in the comics, sometimes the bad guys fucking win and ruin the world.
Well, guess what? That's part of why people think Infinity War is their favorite.
Yeah. Thanos had a point. That's why.
You're probably going to get, I have to imagine, the reason that the Avengers, the next 2 are two-parter, is that's going to happen again. Doctor Doom is going to mostly win in Doomsday, and then that's going to set up Secret Wars. If he loses in Doomsday, I don't know what to tell you about Secret Wars, right? So we kind of have to go in that direction. But yeah, it could have been good still to not end it at Endgame. But there was a lot of different things that factored into it. I think Chadwick Boseman dying is one of those many things. I think Jonathan Majors, I'm not going to blame it all on him because we had certainly sort of lost our way before that, but his whole thing.
You mean Jonathan Majors, the guy who committed less serious crimes than the man who plays Tony Stark previously committed earlier in his life? Just pointing that out there. It's really funny that Robert Downey Jr. got everything excused for years, but Majors is now fired, and because it's our woke culture thing that we need to make sure he's punished for a couple years.
But Robert Downey Jr., you could also argue his was like drug use. Like
I don't give a fuck.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's a bad look for Disney, bad look. Again, I just think it's a crock of shit. Granted, I also straight up do not like Robert Downey Jr. and am miserable that he's fucking Dr. Doom because I thought we were done with this bullshit. And I think his failure of a career since he was Iron Man is funny that he went running back to Marvel to cash a big fucking check. It's pathetic to me. I straight up will like criticize the shit out of Marvel, Disney, him, the Russos, fucking everyone. I have no fucking interest in watching him at all.
Well, your lawyers are doing this motion at Robert Downey Jr. Academy Award winner last year. So, to your point, though, he for a long time he was in the Marvel's movies. Then he did the Sherlock Holmes, and those were pretty good. And then it was like Dr. Dolittle, and it was terrible. A bunch of bad movies.
Yeah, a really great director got him a fucking Oscar.
Yeah. That is true too.
A really good director got him an Oscar. I don't give him fucking shit for credit for that at all. Because I think he's a shit actor.
Maisie, what you have to realize is sometimes Cody he has very strong.
I have very strong opinions.
Specific,
hyper-specific things.
Well, yeah,
the
like
only
with
other thing
Jack
I'll say,
Black.
I saw a lot of the Downey and Majors parallels, and I'm like, it also happened at a different stage of Robert Downey Jr.'s career.
Oh, I know. I just think it's just funny that that's who they went crawling back to of all people.
I know.
For their failures.
That happens 10 years before Iron Man. If that happens 10 years before Jonathan Majors, I don't think he gets taken out of these movies.
Exactly.
Which makes it even more of a generational fumble by Jonathan Majors to be like, well, I might be the villain of this entire arc of the massive MCU. A known commodity now, by the way, that it wasn't when Iron Man 1 comes out. And I fucked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. He got fired and he botched it because he's a fucking fuck up. It's funny that that's the person that you had to go back to.
I saw somebody be like, why is it not okay? Like, can't our villains in movies sometimes kind of act like villains in real life? And I was like, what the fuck?
No.
Sure.
So
What the fuck?
So we need to have only bad people can play bad people and only
Yeah,
good people can play good people.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if that
Crazy.
works.
Like,
I don't know if that works that well.
I think WWE kind of does that. That's the expectation, right? It's like and it's not actually, but like the villains, they're always villains, and we're gonna go behind the scenes, and they're gonna be doing nefarious stuff. In their real life, they're normal people.
They're fine.
But
Exactly. They're playing a character.
It's so stupid.
Hell, most of the time, the biggest villains are the faces.
Yeah, right.
Like, Hulk Hogan was a face his entire
Exactly.
goddamn career, except the NWO, really.
Yeah, that's a
And
great
aces
point.
and eights, I guess. So
Yeah.
even as his life started to fall apart, he could still come out and Hulk up and play I'm a Real American, and people go, yay, Hulk Hogan, yay.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hoping for is we've learned lessons. I think that Disney Plus is the thing that killed this phase of Marvel almost more than anything. Because the movies just kept coming out. Some would have been hits, some would have been misses. I don't think you would have just said, oh my God, there's just such a huge decline in Marvel. But when most of the TV shows suck, like Moon Knight, I didn't even really like. And I think most people were like, yeah, that was pretty okay. It's like, I don't like it. Overall, I thought it was a waste of time.
Yeah, it's pretty okay. And again, as one of the 18 million threads I could lift off of, what the fuck do you
Yeah.
like? Just say these things. Like, you can make a thing that's Marvel, as we have done with, by the way, Batman. There's another Batman in its own universe that is a Batman. Marvel could just be like, hey, we're gonna make this character's like story arc because it's cool and it's been on the comics and it might be popular. We're just gonna tell you now it has nothing to do with any of the MCU things at all. So just don't go in expecting this to all come connected. And unfortunately, they probably need to say that because that's what they did for a decade and a half. Was this movie leads to this movie leads to this movie leads to team up. And it's like, okay, Shang-Chi came out however many years ago and is just floating out there. And
he's never come back. What
he's
the
never
fuck?
come back. We never teased it. And
Yeah.
do you even spread the fact that Wong meets him and then Wong's in another movie in the
That's where they
just,
mismanaged.
and it's like,
I agree.
and if you just said, here's a one-off movie, here's a two-off movie, again, which is what my main positive about Deadpool was, yeah, you kept it separate so you can do whatever the fuck you want and it doesn't impact everything else. That's actually a cool idea. Maybe just make more of those. Again, Robert Pattinson's Batman has nothing to do with the Justice League stuff or any of that or the reboot of all that stuff. And I'm totally cool with that. Now, granted, they're making fucking TV shows that are technically in his universe now. But point being, you can do this to where you can, and maybe you don't have three people play the same character in different stuff because it'll get confusing. But you could just make movies that are Marvel characters that don't have to be part of the MCU, quote unquote. And it would be a lot simpler for everyone if you just did that.
You're right. I just think
But they're so far down this multiverse world that everything's connected.
And we would be in a better place if we were doing what Sean has mentioned before, which is like not stretching movies into TV shows. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a good 2-hour movie if they cut out some of the fluff in the middle. And it's almost always in the middle.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, I think even some of the stuff that has worked well, like Loki, could benefit from having been a movie rather than a TV show. That's one of the best ones out there. So I'm saying it worked on its own as a TV show, but like by and large, and it's also not the fault of like Black Widow. Black Widow should have been a movie 10 years before it was.
Right.
It comes out when it does, and it has to tie into her being dead, so it has an emotionally resonant tie to it. But like that's in phase 4 and it shouldn't have been. So it's not really its fault.
So that was one of the things. So to Cody's point, I don't even think that's maybe like a symptom, but like the core problem is you are making bad films. So whether they're connected or not, whether they're standalone or not, they're just not very good entities. And so much has been mismanaged. And I was going to bring up Black Widow. You did for me. Why was that a Phase 4 movie? Is it just to introduce Florence Pugh and Taskmaster? Then you should have thought about that earlier because, I mean, she's great. I'm glad she's in this universe. But like the way it happened was just was not smart.
I do just wonder if writing would be easier and they would come up with better ideas if they didn't feel like they were somewhat hamstrung by needing to be part of the MCU. I think is why I go to that point of like, if you open the door creatively, again, I keep using the Batman Robert Pattinson movie. It's just a fresh start. It's just its own timeline, whatever period, and it lets you open the door to like, well, what if we did blank superhero at blank age? What if we did Spider-Man when he's 40?
Right.
And he can't be Spider-Man anymore. Wouldn't that be a different take on than the 18 million different high school Spider-Man movies we've gotten? Like, again, I'm not saying that's going to be a good movie, but just there's some ways to think outside the box in a couple different manners, which I feel like Captain America has been the only one to try and do. That's because Captain America went away. So you literally had to up in the character and kind of evolve it in some way. That's with mixed success. But again, he's still subservient to different Thaddeus Ross, and now we're tying in the Hulk from fucking 20 years. Like, we still managed. We had to go and make the new Captain America movie tied in up subservient to the old Hulk movie that they don't even acknowledge because they didn't fucking make it. What the fuck are you doing?
What if you did
a different actor literally plays the guy now?
What if you do like a different studio that's like for these like one-offs? Because they did that. They kind of did. There's the Werewolf by Night. It's
exactly. You praise that.
Great.
Yeah. You praise that. And again, it's actually what if is kind of supposed to be posing. What if's ideas are just so zany and insane. It's like, what if everything was zombies? And it's like, okay, well,
and
I didn't know this was
written too.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was a Call of Duty movie where everything had to be zombies related all of a sudden, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's like I kind of embrace that. And again, this is why I like Spider-Man. The animated things that we're doing with Spider-Man.
You could not do all the Into the Spider-Verse movies in this
Guess what?
continuity, for example.
There's an old Spider-Man and a younger Spider-Man. Like, that version of multiverse shit is so much stronger than anything that Marvel, because Marvel's balancing 70 characters and the Spider-Verse movies are balancing Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Specifically. We haven't touched on, well, where are all the other superheroes in the Spider-Verse? We don't give a fuck where they are. All that matters is Spider-Man and the different versions of Spider-Man and the different versions of their life. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
That's why we all like those, because it's like it's opening something we haven't watched before. Again, it's also not Peter Parker, it's Miles Morales.
Maisie, Spider-Verse ends up so big that it technically does loop around to the MCU. Maisie, I have a question for you. The last thing I want to bring up. How are they going to resolve like Doomsday and the whole Kang situation? What are your thoughts on it?
First of all, I don't know who Doom is.
Okay, that's a good start.
It's Mr. Doom. It might be Mr. Doom because he might not have his doctorate yet. So
no, it's not Dr.
We don't know. It might be Mr. Doom.
Yeah, all I know is that Robert Downey Jr. is unmasked himself or whatever. Yeah, I don't know who he is.
You said you watched the other Fantastic Four movies.
The guy from Nip Tuck was Dr. Doom.
I actually, I wasn't allowed to watch them when I was a kid, but I was allowed to have a calendar with Jessica Alba.
Okay.
Sorry.
We went back to Jessica Alba, and you have no idea.
I don't know, but
is Stark just going to be a variant of Kang, even though he looks different and he's a white guy versus?
I don't think so. I don't think
we're not gonna do that.
But I think one thing that they could do. Well, two options, I think, Cody, and you let me know what you think about these. Option A, we fucking completely never mention Kang again. I think that would be a mistake, but I've seen evidence that might be what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't think it's a good idea, but I feel like that's what they're gonna do.
I feel like what is the issue with recasting him? As in my option 2, which is Doom just goes out and is killing all the Kangs. And that's what's causing all this multiversal shit to happen, which eventually leads to Secret War, because we're going to need to get there anyway.
Even though I'm not going to watch these movies, Doom being powerful enough in the universe, actually that makes sense that he would recognize that Kang is the guy who's really good. And then you just tie Doom into the TVA in some bullshit ass way, and there you go, all done.
Can you cool. I don't know a lot about Doom, because I don't know about Fantastic Four really. Is Doom...
See, I'm not the only one who doesn't know.
Well, no, but like, I mean, I know fucking Doom.
I might sound like a jackass, but I always like looked at him as being like Marvel's like Lex Luthor.
So
maybe that's a dumbass take.
You wouldn't say
no.
He's an anti-hero. Like he's definitely a villain.
Yes.
But like there are shades of kind of something that you could almost say is like sympathetic. Right?
He's
not pure evil all the time.
He's kind of like chaotic neutral almost, in a sense that like he has his own moral compass. He does respect certain individuals. He respects Reed Richards
yeah.
because like they have a lot of shared history, and
Yeah.
he knows Richards is brilliant. He also knows Richards is a jackass, which is also true, by the way. So like there are lines that even he won't necessarily cross. He's like the godparent to the Storm's, Reed Richards and Sue Storm's kid. Well, their daughter. I think they have 2 kids. But the point is, like, he dances around the lines of doing some good things sometimes. But yeah, there's no doubt he's a villain.
Yeah, right.
But he's also like super smart, savvy, ruthless. Like, he's gonna be formidable, and I think it's a good decision to pivot to it. You can argue about the Robert Downey Jr. part of it, but like, I would argue it should have been Doom this whole time. I don't know what the fuck they were doing with Kang, anyways. Dr. Doom, I mean, maybe it's because at the start of the very beginning of Phase 4, they weren't sure what was going to happen with the Fantastic Four with X-Men, but, like, this is a better direction that we've landed on or stumbled into.
I think that is the case, right? That they got this midway into Phase 4.
Rather than taking a couple years off and, like, actually planning Phase 4, they just started trying to throw it together right away, and they hadn't actually secured all the rights for everything.
Yeah.
So you have Kang, and you have, Doom, and he's killing all the Kangs, either because he wants all their power, and or he's like, I'm a hero in his own twisted sense, and I'm going to, stop this other threat.
Which is what Thanos' point was.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, he's like, I believe I'm the hero because I believe I'm saving the universe from this problem that we're inevitably going to have.
And again, if it's, I'm gonna take out this existential threat, and then I'm gonna rule and show you, and like, that's all evil and that's all bad. But that's more interesting to me than like, if I kill them, I can destroy everything. It's like, that's not interesting to me.
What you're pointing out is that, like, that's the one thing Marvel did decent, is it's why a lot of the times we're like, wow, you killed the villain really quickly, and they actually kind of had a point, and we kind of understood where they were coming from, and then you killed them. Sometimes they're actually done too well of making the villains somewhat sympathetic and their cause making some sense. And that's where a lot of the bad superhero movies come from. It's like, that guy's just bad because he wants to in the world. It's like, you live on the fucking world, you dipshit. What the fuck's going to happen?
It's just like unrelatable.
So I think you're right. And I think, again, this is why Doom is not that great in the Fantastic Four movies from in the early 2000s. And why, as much as I'm agitated, Stupid Downey Jr. is probably like a great casting. He probably should have fucking been Doom all along and not been Iron Man. Honestly, his fucking smarky, swarmy-ass douchebagness would play perfectly for Doom. He actually probably would have been a good Reed Richards, too, in that sense.
Yeah.
But yes, right. I mean, it's going to work because I think if you do really exactly what you're saying, Sean, it's going to make sense, especially if he opens up by killing the villain we thought was the villain for 8 years. And then you don't force him into being I don't know how the timeline works from the Avengers movies are. How much screen time are we going to get of him to make him understood? Like, again, as Chris pointed out, Thanos got years of little tiny drop-ins and what he was up to. And I worry that Doom's not going to get that development.
You know what, though? He did and he didn't. Because you knew he was behind the scenes. What was the culmination of Thanos' character development outside of 5 fucking second stingers at the end of the film, right?
There wasn't much.
You know, a little bit of motivation. He's looking for the Infinity Stones, and that's it.
Well, I know in Guardians that, like, what's his face is working for him. Like, there's just a couple things here and there where he's a presence, even if it's not visually, but it's around. And Doom hasn't even been referenced in any way.
But in Infinity War, that's what they did to really characterize him. I suspect Doomsday is going to be very much Doom's movie. A lot of people say Thanos was the protagonist in many ways of Infinity War. It's probably going to be the same way for Doomsday.
It just seems like a curious decision to me if they end up following through with him not being in the Fantastic Four movie. Yes, Galactus, Silver Surfer, there's plenty to do there. And obviously Galactus can't be the villain of an overarching arc because he's boring as fuck. He's actually one of the worst villains of all time because all he does is eat planets. Like that. He does no growth, no character development. He doesn't do anything. He's just massive and eats planets.
He never ponders, should I eat that planet?
Yeah, right. He doesn't have a daughter that he has an emotional scene with. He just eats planets and he beats the shit out of the Silver Surfer over and over and over and over again. So, like, I just think, and maybe they'll have to at least mention him. If they don't even mention him in the Fantastic Four movie, what the fuck are we doing? Because, like as Cody said, the name Doctor Doom has not been said in any single MCU project out of these 750 of them to this point.
Well,
You gotta start putting it somewhere.
if you put Doom as not a villain yet in the fucking Fantastic Four movie, by the way, and
That would be
teased
cool.
him into being a villain, and then he sees a thing eats planets, and he realizes there's superior powers out there, and wants to be delusionally, I'm gonna save the day, as Sean already said. There's some fucking creative ways to do it that haven't been necessarily done,
That's
and
cool.
make some sense that Thanos is, he gets kind of evil early on, but then he gets like stuck on this mission of I need to kill half the universe to save everyone because what he sees is happening. If Doom sees, oh, it's a big planet eater thing and there's Kang stuff's been going on, I'm really smart and I should get more powerful to save the day. And then he goes overboard. That's the way I would fucking do it if it was me.
Yeah, and the fact that it's Doomsday, because going into Secret War, there's a couple different ways you could have done it. The Avengers could have won in movie Avengers, whatever the next one is, but then Doom comes in and takes the power from the person that they defeated. That's kind of like what he does in Secret Wars. But with a movie called Doomsday, that's clearly not the direction they're going to go in.
Exactly.
We potentially just wrote a better movie than what we're going to get. So let's hope that we didn't. Let's hope that they're going to surprise us.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have like a 4-movie arc here that works for Doom's like niceness and then descent into evil and then super evil and then defeat. Like it's all fucking there. You could pay.
What
you
I
could
love
pattern through.
is it really emphasizes the Fantastic Four because I think this casting is incredible. I think it is A+ all the way down the board. If the chemistry between Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal, my God, I buy that they're married already.
Like that's all true, but the problem is now Doctor Doom looks like Tony Stark. So
Well, right.
You're gonna if you are gonna try and introduce any of what Cody mentioned, which is smart, you also have to address that massive elephant in the room.
Which, by the way, I would just love that they're fucking. I mean, you want to just fucking break comics logic, just make them fucking variants of each other.
Well,
Problem solved.
but I just think, yeah, I mean, that could work. The issue I think is, I saw one theory like, what if he is, what if this is a world where there is no fucking Doctor Doom's real name, Victor Von Doom?
Victor Von Doom.
And what if that's not him, and that's where like Iron Man, Tony Stark like ends up filling that role? They have said he's not playing a Tony Stark variant.
Yeah,
they
it's a
have
bummer
said
to
that.
me.
It doesn't mean necessarily anything.
It's
But
so easy in the realm of when you did the first movie. It's so easy to imagine that Stark would turn evil. If you're
Right.
going to do this variant bullshit
Right.
and you go back and watch the first movie and whatever, I'm like, it's the most believable thing for me that he just makes one different decision and he ends up being a fucking supervillain. And it's like the simplest thing.
And
But
as
no,
Jason
fine.
mentioned, it is the same with Reed Richards, and it has
Yes.
happened in the comics.
Exactly.
yeah,
Again, comics have been being written for years and years. Every idea we probably could come up with has been in some form already kind of done in the comics. And they just seem to try and lately choose the easy way out of a handful of these comics and do the most
because
basic,
they're playing it safe.
yeah,
and they
basic
need to-
storyline rather than doing the cool idea of, well, everyone knows that Doom's a bad guy. So as soon as Doom's on screen, we must make sure you know he's a bad guy right away. It's like, no, people become evil.
Yeah, that's why I think
Right.
Infinity War was and Endgame were so good.
It's why
because
I like Killmonger so much.
Killmonger's the
they
other
didn't
person.
just
Yep.
play it safe.
Yes.
We are over,
Mhm.
but thanks for that great discussion, Maisie. I think your points, your theories were really appreciated.
What's the next movie? Is it
So
Captain
much
America:
fun.
New World Order that they changed the title of when it
Brave
should be
New World?
Order?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's New World Order to me.
Oh, okay.
That's what they originally named it, and now it's Captain America NWO every single fucking
You're forgetting
time.
all about Agatha.
That doesn't exist. That just even if I loved the WandaVision a lot more than everyone else, I don't acknowledge Agatha as
No,
thing
what
that
was it?
exists.
What was it? Agatha all along.
Sure,
I'm
whatever.
sorry, wrong name.
House
yeah.
of Harkness or whatever the million different names they've had.
They had a bunch, and then they were like, "Oh, those were all intentional." I'm like, I do not care.
What's
Yeah.
cool is they're doing like Thunderbolts. They're doing these cool things, except the placement of right before Doomsday. I'm like, what are the Thunderbolts going to do against fucking Doctor Doom?
Again, to
Mhm.
me, it's like
just weird.
Just make that movie like Suicide Squad exists just by itself
Yeah.
on the DC side. Just make fucking Thunderbolts and make them fight who the fuck ever. It doesn't need to be Galaxy, Galactus, whatever, space into the world. Just put like 5 villains who are douchebags on Earth and make them fight people on Earth, and we don't need to go to space for that.
Yeah.
It's fun. We'll enjoy
Or-
that movie. Well, I won't enjoy that movie because U.S. Agent sucks. But
To the point you mentioned earlier, Cody, just have some villains around still.
yeah.
Maybe they could tackle Killmonger. That's reasonable for them.
If anyone was left over, you could have them go chase him down. That's a perfect
Yeah.
idea, Chris.
Because you don't need to have all 47 Avengers fight Thanos. Some of them are not qualified to fight Thanos, with or without the Infinity Gauntlet loaded up.
Yeah.
So like, give them other things to do. And Thanos had his little general. Nobody fucking cares.
So there's a lot we didn't get to today. Here's the problem. I didn't know Cody was going to feel so passionately about not really liking Deadpool very much. That is what added
You
the
let it
time.
fester for a
I
week.
know. That was my fault.
And Robert Downey Jr.
I've always hated him,
I
though.
want
Yeah.
to know.
So we have plenty of other stuff next week. Dave will be happy. We're going to get into Olympics controversy,
There's no controversy.
politics,
There's no controversy.
all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be fun. Definitely tune in.
That'll be next week. Sean almost did the outro. That's pretty good. Where do they go, Sean?
I don't know. It's
Okay.
so many different at the buzzer.
That's right.
It's all actually listed right below me.
It is on the screen. You could have actually pulled it out last minute, but it's too late. You were not the
He's
host.
on his phone now. He doesn't care.
He gave up. He's out
He's
of the
not
show now.
hearing you.
Once he gave his outro, he's like, "That's it.
He's
Week's done."
deleting the ideas he had because I talked over them for too long.
That's right.
No, I'm shifting them to next week.
He's
literally,
still,
actually.
he's deleting all of your phone numbers.
That is the end of the episode, though. He is correct about that. In between shows, you can find us at grayareas.live or youtube.com/@grayareaslive. We're playing through Trails games again. We just did a Mario Top 25 for music. Go check that out from last week. And we are close to 1,000 subscribers, as in we're at 999, as was mentioned in the chat earlier in the episode. You could be the 1,000th.
And you'll win a prize.
I'm not
will
even
do
subscribed to
something
the
fancy
channel,
for
so
it.
should I just go do it right now?
Wow.
I
No,
don't-
do it after we hit our 1,000.
I don't fucking use YouTube, so I
Yeah, I don't.
Be
I don't.
1,001.
I don't want you to be 1,000. In fact, I would rather you never subscribe.
He wants the prize.
I'm going in right now.
I shouldn't have said that.
You should have said, please, Cody, go subscribe.
Yeah, Cody, we really like it if you would go
wouldn't have.
subscribe. Robert Downey Jr. would also really like it if you did.
So would Jack Black.
Anyways, we will
Jack
see you
Black's on
next
my
week.
good side now.